Sa ngayon, itutuloy lang natin kung ano yung na-discuss natin about the Civil Code. So, una, ano nga ba ang Civil Code? Civil Code of the Philippines is a legal framework that governs the private rights and obligation of the individuals in the Philippines. It is divided in four main books. First is the person, which covers the family law, marriage, parental authority, and related topics. Second is the property ownership and its modifications. Its focus is on the property rights and ownership. So dito is yung mga lupa, kagamitan, materials, lahat ng tangible na bagay ay under dito sa property ownership and its modification. Third is the obligation and contracts. It governs agreements, obligations, responsibilities arising them. Next is the successions. Deals with the inheritance and how estates are passed on after the death. So, dito sa fourth ay kung paano nga ba pag namatay yung isang tao ay saan mapupunta yung kanyang mga ari-arian. Ano nga ba ang purpose ng Civil Code? The main purpose of the Civil Code are 1. Regulating personal relationship. It provides rules on marriage, family relations, and parental responsibilities, ensuring harmony in social relationships. Number 2. Protecting property rights. The code establishes guidelines for property ownership, use, and disputes, ensuring fair treatment and order. Number 3. Governing contracts and obligations. It sets clear rules for contracts and obligations, promoting trust in business and personal transactions. Number 4, facilitating justice and equality. It aims to provide a framework for resolving disputes in a fair and orderly manner. Number 5, defining legal obligations. It outlines the responsibilities and rights of the individuals in a civil relationships, ensuring accountability and clarity in social interactions. So, ang purpose ng Civil Code ay siya yung nagbibigay ng fair treatment, organized, predictable legal environment for personal, family, and commercial interactions in the Philippines. So, siya yung nagme-maintain ng equality ng bawat isa sa law dito sa Pilipinas. Under the Article 32, Section 18, freedom from excessive fines or cruel and unusual punishment unless the same is imposed or inflicted in accordance with the statute which has not been judicially declared unconstitutional. So, under Section 18, this principle ensures that individuals are protected from facing penalties or punishments that are extremely harsh or unfair. So dito yung mga pagbabayad ng danyos ng isang tao sa nagawa nila ng mali or sa naapektuhan ng kanilang ginawa is may law pa rin doon. Dapat hindi masyadong malaki or dapat hindi rin masyadong maliit. Nakadepende sa kung gaanong kalaking danyos yung nagawa nila, doon nakadepende ang babayaran nila. No one can be subjected to fines that are unreasonably large or punishments that are cruel and inhumane unless those penalties are specifically allowed by a valid law. So, dapat lahat ng punishment na ipapataw sa isang tao ay nakasulat or nakatakda sa ating constitution. Dahil nga doon, hindi pwede na basta na lang magbigay ng punishment yung mga judge na hindi according sa law na pinapalakad natin dito sa Pilipinas. Furthermore, this law must not have been ruled unconstitutional by the courts, which means it has to follow the principles and protection laid out in the Constitution. Essentially, this safeguards fairness and humanity in legal consequences, ensuring that punishments fit the crime and are applied within the bounds of justice and legality. So yun, dapat yung punishment ay nakadepende sa kung ano yung crime na nagawa ng isang tao. Yung dapat ay alam nung nakagawa ng crime kung ano nga ba yung kanyang tawag doon, kung ano nga ba yung kanyang rights pa din kahit na gano'n na siya ay nakagawa ng mali. So, as a student, we must understand the law safeguards individuals from unfair and inhumane treatment by enforcing punishments or fines within legally acceptable and just limits. This provision emphasizes accountability within legal processes and ensure adherence to human rights. So, dapat as a student, alam natin na may pagkakapantay-pantay tayo dito sa batas ng Pilipinas. So, walang mayaman, walang mahirap, walang nasa posisyon if ever na nakagawa tayo ng kasalanan ay mananagot tayo dito dahil ito ang nakasaad sa ating batas. Next is the Article 32, Section 19, Freedom of Access to the Courts. In any of these cases referred in this article, whether or not the defendant's acts or omission constitutes a criminal offense, the aggrieved party has a right to commence and entirely separate and distinct civil action for damages and for other relief. Such civil action shall proceed independently or any criminal prosecutions if the latter be instituted and may be provided by a preponderance of evidence. So, under the Section 19 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, this part ay part of the chapter on human relations and emphasizes the basic responsibility of everyone to act with justice, give due respect to others, and do no harm. It reflects the moral and ethical standards expected in personal and professional interactions. This means that individuals should treat others fairly, respects their rights, and avoid causing harm or damage. For example, when making decisions or taking actions, a person must ensure that they are considerate of how their behavior affects others and that they uphold the values of fairness and justice. So, this section of the Civil Code of the Philippines establishes that even in action by the defendant is not considered a crime, the victim still has the right to file a separate civil case to seek compensations for damages or other remedies. So, kunwari ay may nagawa sa'yo yung isang tao na under sa law is hindi pa siya mako-consider as criminal law. So, pwede ka pa rin mag-file as a civil case wherein kapag nanalo ka, ay pwede ka makakuha ng compensations or bayad depende sa kung ano yung nagawa sa'yo. Kung ito man ay physical or emotional. If someone has been harmed, they can file a civil lawsuit to claim damages regardless of whether the harm caused is classified as a criminal offense. So, yun nga, kung under ng law natin ay hindi pa siya classified as criminal offense, pwede natin siyang kasuhan ng civil case, civil law. The civil case is independent of any crime case, meaning it can proceed even if the criminal trial is also happening. To win the civil case, the evidence must show that it is more likely that not the defendant caused the harm. So, dapat ay sa ebidensyang ipepresent ng nagsampa ng kaso ay hindi lalabas na yung siya yung nagsimula or siya yung gumawa ng harm. Dapat ay lalabas na siya yung naging victim. The victim can claim not only compensation for the actual harm done but also moral damages for emotional distress and exemplary damages as a punishment for particularly harmful behavior. So yun, maaari ring magsampa ng kaso if ever na nagkaroon ng moral damages. Kunwari nasiraan ka ng puri, nagpapalabas ng fake news na makakasira sa'yo, pwede ka ring magsampa ng civil case under the Section 19. The indemnity shall include moral damages. Exemplary damages may also be adjudicated. The responsibility herein set forth, it is not demandable from a judge unless his act or omission constitutes a violation of the penal code or other penal statute. So dito sinasabi na hindi responsible ang judge kung natalo yung defendant. Ito ay nakadepende kung yung pinresent na ebidensya ay malakas or malaki yung chance na manalo talaga yung nagsampa ng kaso. So hindi maaring kasuhan yung judge kung naging fair lang siya. Kung naging fair siya sa pagrurule ng law. Maaari siyang kasuhan kung yung ginawa niyang decision ay nagpapakita ng bias wherein malakas yung ebidensya pero ipinatalo niya yung nagsampa ng kaso. Doon ay maaaring kasuhan siya kasi nilabag niya yung batas na pagiging fair ng bawat isa dito sa ating bansa. The indemnity shall include moral damages. Exemplary damages may also be adjudicated. The responsibility herein set forth, it is not demandable from a judge unless his act or omission constitutes a violation of the penal code or other penal statute. So dito sinasabi na hindi responsible ang judge kung natalo yung defendant. Ito ay nakadepende kung yung pinresent na ebidensya ay malakas or malaki yung chance na manalo talaga yung nagsampa ng kaso. So hindi maaring kasuhan yung judge kung naging fair lang siya. Kung naging fair siya sa pagrurule ng law. Maaari siyang kasuhan kung yung ginawa niyang decision ay nagpapakita ng bias wherein malakas yung ebidensya pero ipinatalo niya yung nagsampa ng kaso. Doon ay maaaring kasuhan siya kasi nilabag niya yung batas na pagiging fair ng bawat isa dito sa ating bansa. Article 34. When a member of a city or municipal police force refuses or fails to render aid or protection to any person in case of danger to life or property, such peace officer shall be primarily liable for damages, and the city or municipality shall be subsidiarily responsible therefor. The civil action herein recognized shall be independent of any criminal proceedings, and the preponderance of evidence shall suffice to support such action. So, if a police officer from a city or town fails to help or protect someone with their life or property is in danger, that officer can be held responsible. So, if ever na humingi ka ng tulong sa isang law officers, police officers, at tumanggi sila, ay maaari mo silang kasuhan ng civil case. Pwede mo silang pagbayarin ng danyos if ever na may nangyari sa iyo or sa property mo ng humingi ka ng tulong sa kanila at hindi ka tinulungan. Just like in Article 33, this civil case is independent of any criminal charges against the officer, and the stand of proof is preponderance of evidence. In essence, these articles provide victims with a clear legal avenue to seek compensation for harm even if no criminal liability is established. So yun, kagaya ng Article 33, siya ay independent. Pwede kang magsampa ng civil case while ongoing yung criminal case. So, pwede kang makakuha ng bayad danyos para sa nangyaring krimen if ever na hindi ka tinulungan nung police officer na yon. Article 33 of the Civil Code of the Philippines. Article 33. In cases of defamation, fraud, and physical injuries, a civil action for damages entirely separate and distinct from the criminal action may be brought by the injured party. Such civil action shall proceed independently of the criminal prosecution and shall require only a preponderance of evidence. So, if someone is a victim of defamation or damage to reputation, fraud like a person lying about their income to secure a loan, selling a defective product while hiding its flaws. Fraud is punishable under the criminal and civil laws nga, depending on the severity and nature of the act. So, yung fraud ay nakadepende kung gaano kagrabe yung pagkakagawa. Maaari siyang under ng civil law or ng criminal law. Maaari siyang depende sa kung saan siya papatak, depende sa ginawang crime depende sa ginawang crime ng tao. So next is the physical injury. They can file a civil case for damages dun sa tatlong naunang yun, gaya defamation or the damage to reputation, fraud, tsaka physical injury. So, ang civil case ay iba sa criminal case. So, maaari kang magsampa ng kaso ng civil case kahit na ongoing pa yung criminal case. So, dahil dito ay basta mapapatunayan, makakapagbigay ka ng preponderance of evidence or katunayan na naranasan mo yung such violations. So, maaari kang magbigay or maaari kang magsampa ng civil case kahit na meron ka ng nakasampang criminal case. Article 34. When a member of a city or municipal police force refuses or fails to render aid or protection to any person in case of danger to life or property, such peace officer shall be primarily liable for damages, and the city or municipality shall be subsidiarily responsible therefore. The civil action herein recognized shall be independent of any criminal proceedings, and the preponderance of evidence shall suffice to support such action. So, if a police officer from a city or town fails to help or protect someone with their life or property is in danger, that officer can be held responsible. So, if ever na humingi ka ng tulong sa isang law officers, police officers, at tumanggi sila, ay maaari mo silang kasuhan ng civil case. Pwede mo silang pagbayarin ng danyos if ever na may nangyari sa iyo or sa property mo nang humingi ka ng tulong sa kanila at hindi ka tinulungan. Just like in Article 33, this civil case is independent of any criminal charges against the officer, and they stand of proof is preponderance of evidence. In essence, these articles provide victims with a clear legal avenue to seek compensation for harm even if no criminal liability is established. So yun, kagaya ng Article 33, siya ay independent. Pwede kang magsampa ng civil case uh, while while ongoing yung criminal case. So, pwede kang makakuha ng bayad danyos para sa nangyaring krimen if ever na hindi ka tinulungan nung police officer na yon. So, Book 1, Persons, Title 1, Civil Personality. Na Title 1 or Book 1 of the Civil Code of the Philippines cover the basic rules regarding civil personality, which refers to the legal capacity of individuals and entities to have rights and obligations. It establishes who can consider a person under the law and when a person's legal existence began and ends. The purpose of this is it defines the foundational principles of legal personality in the Philippines, providing clarity on issues of inheritance, liability, and legal standing. It ensures protection for individuals from the moment of conception and determines the rules of legal entities. Chapter 1, General Provisions. Article 37. Juridical capacity, which is fitness to be the subject of legal relations, is inherent in every natural person and is lost only through death. Capacity to act, which is the power to do acts with legal effect, is acquired and may be lost. So what is judicial capacity? Judicial capacity is the ability of a person to recognize as someone who can hold rights and responsibilities under the law. So example, ang lahat ng tao ay mayroong kakayahan na magkaroon ng ari-arian, pumasok sa isang kontrata at maging responsable sa ginawa nilang action. So, sino nga ba ang may mga juridical capacity? This capacity is something that every person automatically has from the moment they are born. So, ayun. Once na ipinanganak yung isang tao, meron na siyang juridical capacity. So, kailan nawawala yung juridical capacity? Juridical capacity only ends when a person dies. Until then, the law recognize them as legal person. So, yun. Nawawala lang yung juridical capacity ng isang tao once na siya ay namatay. Ang sunod naman ay yung capacity to act. So, ano nga ba yung capacity to act? So, ang capacity to act ay slight na iba sa juridical capacity. It is the ability of a person to perform actions that have legal effects like signing a contract or buying a property. How is it acquired? Paano siya na-acquired? Unlike juridical capacity, the ability to act depends or the capacity to act depends on a certain conditions. For example, ang minors ay hindi pa nagkakaroon ng full capacity to act. So, they usually need parental consent to sign a contract. So, yun, pag kunwari ay may pipirmahan na kontrata yung isang minor de edad, so kailangan pa rin niya ng parental consent. When can it be lost? Kailan mawawala yung capacity to act? Capacity to act can be lost temporarily or permanently. For example, a person might lose this ability due to mental illness, being underage, or other legal restrictions. So, yun, ang capacity to act ay maaaring mawala if ever na nagkaroon ng mental illness yung isang tao. Nagkaroon siya ng sakit sa pag-iisip. hindi okay yung pag-iisip niya para gumawa ng isang desisyon. So, doon ay maaaring temporarily or permanently na mawala yung kanyang capacity to act. While ang pagiging minor ay isa ring dahilan kung bakit hindi nagkakaroon ng full capacity to act ang isang tao. Kapag minor ka pa ay hindi pa ganon ka buo yung pag-iisip mo, hindi pa ganoon katalas yung pag-iisip mo para maggawa ng desisyon. So, dahil doon ay kailangan pa rin ng mga minor na ng parental consent if ever nagagawa sila ng isang decision or ng isang action. So, ano nga ba yung relationship ng juridical capacity at ng capacity to act? Juridical capacity is permanent while alive. So, habang buhay ka, meron kang juridical capacity. But the capacity to act varies depending on age, mental state, or other factors. So, ayun, nakadepende kung ang capacity to act ay nakadepende kung ikaw ba ay minor, kung may sakit ka sa pag-iisip. So, ano nga ba yung practical example nito? So, ang practical example nito ay a child has a juridical capacity to inherit property. So, ang bata ay merong juridical capacity na magmana ng mga kayamanan o ng mga pagmamay-ari ng kanilang pamilya. Pero hindi niya ito pwedeng ipagbili hanggat hindi siya adult enough. Hindi siya nakakarating ng 18 years old or above. So, dapat ay hindi na siya minor once na gusto niyang ipagbili yung property na namana niya. So, bakit nga ba importante ito? These distinctions are crucial law to determine who can enter into agreements, claim rights, or to be held accountable for legal actions. So, ayun, pag yung bata ay nakagawa ng isang decision ng minor pa lang ng walang parental consent, kung papasok siya ng isang kontrata, maaaring maging hindi valid yung kontrata na pinasok niya once na minor pa yung bata. So, legal protections. The law ensures that those who lack full capacity to act like minors or person with disabilities are protected from unfamiliar or harmful agreements. So, yun. Alam naman natin na merong mga tao na mapagsamantala. So, dito sa Article 37 ay binibigyang protection yung mga bata, yung mga minor de edad, yung mga taong merong mental illness laban sa mga taong mapagsamantala na pagsasamantalahan yung kanilang mga kahinaan gaya ng papepermahin sila sa mga kontrata na hindi nila lubos na naiintindihan. So, this article ensures fairness by recognizing that while everyone has rights, not everyone can exercise them independently at all times. So, ayun, hindi dahil sa lahat tayo ay mayroong equal rights, ay hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay maipe-perform ng isang tao yung kanilang rights. Depende yon sa level ng kanilang pag-iisip, sa kung gaano sila katanda. Next is the Article 38. Minority, insanity, or imbecility, the state of being deaf, mute, prodigality, and civil interdictions are mere restrictions on capacity to act, and do not exempt the incapacitated person from certain obligation, as when the latter arise from his acts or from property relations such as easements. So, ano nga ba yung restriction ng capacity to act? Conditions like being a minor, having a mental illness, or being deaf or deaf-mute are considered limitations on a person's ability to perform legal acts such as entering into contract. So, yun nga. Gaya nung sinabi ko kanina, if ever na minor yung papasok ng kontrata, maaaring ma-invalid yung kontrata na papasukan nila once na wala itong parental consent. Maaari ring maging invalid siya once na yung tao ay napatunayan na mentally ill, pag siya ay deaf mute or bingi at pipi, ay maaaring ma-invalid yung kontrata na pinasok nila once na napatunayan na hindi nila kayang mag-perform ng certain right or hindi nila kaya ipaglaban yung kanila certain right independently. So, do these restrictions remove all responsibilities? So, hindi dahil sa minor siya, hindi dahil sa may mental illness siya, hindi dahil sa bingi siya ay takas na siya sa batas. So, these restrictions do not free person from obligations. They can create through their actions. For example, if a minor damages someone's property, they can still be held responsible. So, ayun, hindi dahil sa minor yung nakagawa ng crime ay magiging mapapawalang sala na siya. So dito kapag minor yung nakakagawa ng isang crime ay nananagot pa rin sila na yun tinatawag nating juvenile delinquency, wherein yung delinquent ay dinadala sa mga shelters, facilities like Boys Town, na kung saan ay magkakaroon pa rin naman sila ng mga hearing. Tapos ay kung mapapatunayan na nagawa nila yung kasalanan na yun, ay maaari silang makulong once na makarating sila sa legal age or the age of 18 years old. So, legal recognition of rights and duties, even people with restricted capacity such as minors or those with disabilities are still subject to legal relationship, especially in concerning ownership and obligations arising from property. So, ayun, kahit na minor or may sakit may sakit sa pag-iisip yung isang tao, ay meron pa rin silang karapatan na magbana or makakuha ng ari-arian na galing sa kanilang pamilya. So, what is an easement naman? An easement is a legal right to use someone else's property for a specific purpose, like a pathway. As person with restricted capacity may still have responsibilities related to such property matters. So, why are these restriction matters? Bakit nga ba binabawasan yung capacity to act ng isang tao? So, these rules protect people who might not fully understand the legal implications of their actions while still holding them accountable to some extent. So, ayun, pag yung tao ay nakagawa ng isang crime or nang hindi niya ganoon naiintindihan yung ginawa niya, ay kaya nagkakaroon ng restrictions. So, nababawasan yung kanilang parusa once na napatunayan na hindi ganon ka-develop yung kanilang pag-iisip. Pero in some cases naman ay binibigyan pa rin sila ng parusa, pero bawas na yon, parang less siya dahil sa kanilang condition. So, ano nga ba yung practical example ng sa minority? If a teenagers enter into business agreement without their parent consent, the agreement may not be valid, but the teenager is still accountable for damages caused by their actions. So, yun, once na pumasok sa agreement yung isang bata nang walang parental consent, ay maaari nga siya maging invalid agreement. Pero yung danyos na nagawa niya, kunwari ay nakapaglabas ng puhunan or ng capital yung kasosyo niya na hindi alam na minor pa yung itong bata, ay maaari pa rin bigay ng compensation or maaari pa rin magbayad sa nagawang action yung bata or yung pamilya ng bata sa naging kasosyo nila. Sa mental illness naman or mental disability, person with mental disability might need a guardian for legal matters, but they are still responsible for obligation like maintaining their property or paying debt. So ayun, kapag yung isang tao ay nagkaroon ng sakit sa pag-iisip tapos may utang siya, ay responsible pa rin siya na magbayad nung utang niya. Siguro ay ang magbabayad na doon ay yung family na namamahala or nag-aalaga dun sa tao na nagkaroon ng mental disability. So, ano nga ba yung importance ng law na to? This article ensures that the people with restricted capacity are not exploited or treated unfairly while recognizing that they are still have obligations within legal relationships. So, dahil sa mga restrictions na to, dahil sa article na to ay napoproteksyon na natin yung kabataan, yung mga tao na may mental illness, mental disabilities para maipaglaban yung kanilang rights. While hindi pa rin naman tinatanggal yung obligations nila sa mga ginagawa nilang actions. So ito ay nakadepende na lang kung minor ba yung isang bata yung nakagawa ng crime, kung yung sakit ba sa pag-iisip ng isang tao ay temporarily lang or yung panghabang buhay na. So ayun, ay dahil sa mga restrictions na to, napoprotektahan natin yung buhay ng mga tao na maaaring pagsamantalahan ng iba. 39. The following circumstances, among others, modify or limit capacity to act, like age, insanity, imbecility, the state of being deaf-mute, penalty, prodigality, family relations, alienage, absence, insolvency, and trusteeship. The consequences of these circumstances are governed in this code, other codes, and the rules of court. And in special laws, capacity to act is not limited to an account of religious belief or political opinion. A married woman, 21 years of age is qualified for all acts of civil life except in case specified by law. So, ang Article 39 of the Civil Code of the Philippines explains the different situations that can affect a person's ability to act in a legal matters. So, una, capacity to act refers to a person's ability to make decisions or perform that have legal effects like signing contracts or managing property. So, yun, yung kagaya ng mga naunang article ay nababawasan yung capacity to act ng isang tao once na siya ay minor, deaf, or may sakit sa pag-iisip. Certain circumstances can limit disabilities such as being underage, having mental illness, or being unable to hear and speak. Other examples include being under penalty like imprisonment, wasting money irresponsibly, or the prodigality, or being deaf. These limitations are regulated by laws, such as civil code and other legal codes, and specific law tailored to each situation. A person's ability to act is not restricted because of their religion or political belief. This ensures fairness and prevents discrimination in legal matters. So, a married woman who is 21 years old or older is generally allowed to perform legal actions like owning property or signing contracts. However, there are exemptions if certain laws specify restrictions. For example, the law might restrict a married woman from doing a certain acts related to family or community property without her spouse consent. These articles ensures clarity about who can legally act in a certain circumstances and how restrictions apply to protect individuals and society. It balances the rights of individuals with safeguards, especially for those who might not fully understand or handle the legal responsibilities. The goal to ensure fairness while considering the limitations caused by personal, social, or financial responsibilities or financial circumstances. In essence, the law acknowledges that while everyone has rights, certain factors like age or mental health might require additional safeguards to ensure those rights are exercised responsibly. So these articles ensures people's rights are respected while recognizing the need for protective measures specific situations. So itong Article 39 is pinapakita kung gaano ba, gaano dapat maging fair yung batas dito sa Pilipinas. Binibigyan ng additional protection yung mga tao na sa tingin ng batas ay hindi kayang mag-act independently. So, dahil dito ay nabibigyan protection yung mga tao na nasa palagay ng government ay hindi ganoon kalakas para or hindi ganoon hindi kayang mag-act ng kanila lang. Chapter 2, natural person. So, Chapter 2 focuses on the concept of natural persons, which refers to human being as subject of rights and obligations under the law. It details their juridical capacity and the conditions surrounding their legal existence. So, nagfo-focus yung Chapter 2 sa natural person, sa tao. So, the purpose of Chapter 2, natural person, in the Civil Code of the Philippines is establish the legal framework for recognizing and regulating the civil personality of natural person. Civil personality refers to a person's capacity to be a subject of legal rights and obligations. This chapter ensures that individuals are afforded legal protection and clarity regarding their rights and responsibilities from birth until death. So, Article 40. Birth determines personality, but the conceived child shall be considered born for all purposes that are favorable to it, provided it be born later with the conditions specified into the following article. Article 40. The Civil Code of the Philippines established that a person's legal personality begins at birth. So, ayun. Dito sa Article 40, sinasabi na yung person's legal personality ay nagsisimula once na yung isang bata ay ipinanganak. However, it also recognizes the rights of unborn children. So, kahit na unborn yung isang child ay meron pa rin siyang legal responsibility or meron pa rin siyang rights. So, Article 41. For civil purposes, the fetus is considered born if it is alive at the time it is completely delivered from the mother's womb. However, If the fetus had an intrauterine life of less than 7 months, it is not deemed born if it dies within 24 hours after its complete delivery from maternal womb. So back to Article 40. So birth determines legal personality. A person's gain full legal status and rights only after being born alive. Protection from unborn children. Even before being born, an unborn children is considered a person for legal purposes, but only when these purposes are beneficial to the child. For example, the child can inherit property or other rights while still in the womb. So, kahit na nasa sinapupunan pa lang siya ng kanyang ina ay meron na siyang rights para magmana ng ari-arian ng kanyang mga magulang. These rights take effect only if the child eventually born alive. So, ayun, nang nasa tiyan pa lang siya ay maaari siya magkaroon ng rights, pero magiging full lang yung rights niya once na siya ay mismong ipinanganak na. Condition of being born alive. The law ensures that these favorable rights are recognized only if the child survives the birth process. This article safeguards the right of unborn while balancing the legal requirement for the recognition of full personality at birth. It highlights the importance of protecting potential beneficiaries in case of inheritance or family disputes. So, Article 41 says that a baby is legally recognized as a person when it is born alive. If the baby is born early, less than 7 months into pregnancy and dies within 24 hours, it will not be considered as having full legal personality. This rule is important for matters like inheritance of legal rights, ensuring that only those who met these conditions are granted civil rights. So ayun, once na yung isang baby ay naipanganak ng less than 7 months pero namatay siya within 24 hours, ay hindi siya mabibigyan ng full personal rights. So example, bilang pag full-term baby, Maria gives birth to a baby who has completed 8 months in the womb. The baby is born alive and healthy. This child legally recognized as a person with civil rights. So yun, dahil sa nabuhay yung bata, naging malusog yung bata, mabibigyan siya ng full civil rights. While ang premature baby naman, Anna gives birth to a baby after 6 months of pregnancy. The baby is delivered alive but unfortunately dies within 15 hours. In this case, the baby has not legally considered as having been born because it didn't survive the 24 hours, which is a requirement for babies born prematurely. So, ayun, dapat, dahil sa hindi nabuhay yung bata ng within 24 hours, so hindi siya masasabing born, hindi siya mabibigyan ng rights. This law ensures clarity in cases where legal recognition depends on the survival of the child, such as when deciding inheritance rights. For instance, a child must meet the conditions above to inherit property or assets from their parents. So yun, pag hindi nabuhay yung bata ng within 24 hours, hindi nabuhay ng ganon kahaba ang isang bata, ay hindi siya may consider as born. So, hindi siya mabibigyan ng civil rights at hindi siya magkakaroon ng rights para makapagmana ng ari-arian ng kanyang magulang. Article 42. Civil personality is extinguished by death. The effect of death upon the rights and obligations of the deceased is determined by law, by contract, and by will. So, Article 42 states that the person's legal identity ends when they die. When someone passes away, the handling of their rights, obligations, and belongings depend on existing law. any agreements they had or their written will. For example, death ends legal responsibilities. When Juan dies, his obligations to repay personal loan no longer applies to him. However, the creditor may claim payments from Juan estates, his remaining money or property as per the law. So ayun, dahil dito ay kung mamatay si Juan ay hindi na niya obligation sa magbayad ng utang. Pero yung creditor o yung pinagkakautangan niya ay maaaring maningil sa natitirang kamag-anak or kasamahan noong si Juan, or maaari niyang kuhanin yung property ni Juan na naiwan sa kanyang mga kamag-anak. Inheritance based on will. If Maria had a will before her death stating that her house will go to her sister, the law will follow the will's instruction. So yun, if bago namatay yung isang tao ay nagbigay siya ng will or ng kagustuhan na kung kanino ibibigay yung natitira niyang ari-arian, ay susundin iyon ng batas. If Maria had no will, her estate will be divided according to the country's inheritance law. So, kung wala namang will si Maria kung kanino mapapunta yung ari-arian na maiiwan niya, ay paghahati-hatian ito depende sa kung ano yung law na nakasaad sa bansang tinitigilan niya. This article ensures that the transitions of rights and duties after death is guided by legal frameworks, preventing disputes among surviving family members or creditors. So, yun ay maaaring once na namatay yung isang tao, ay maaaring maibigay sa kanyang kamag-anak yung kanyang ari-arian by law or by will. Kung by law ay susundin kung ano yung nakasaad sa batas, kung sino yung unang makakakuha ng ari-arian. Kung by will naman ay susundin kung ano ba yung sinabi nung namatay na tao. Article 43 naman. Article 43, if there is a doubt as between two or more persons who are called to succeed on each other as to which of them died first, whoever alleges the death of the prior prior to the other shall prove the same. In the absence of proof, it is presumed that they died at the same time, and there shall be no transmission of rights from one to another to other. So, as Article 43, it addresses a situation where two or more people are supposed to inherit from each other. So, yun, kunwari ay yung magkapatid ang inheritor ng parehas na yung kanilang mga ari-arian. If ever na mamatay sila pareho at hindi magkaroon ng proof yung kasamahan nila kung sino yung unang namatay, ay hindi makukuha nung magkapatid yung kanilang ari-arian. At susundin ulit natin yung kung ano ba yung nakasaad sa law. If someone claims that one person died before the other, they must provide a proof. If no proof is provided, it is assumed that the both died at the same time, and therefore no one can inherit from each other. So, example, let's say there are two cousins, Juan and Pedro, who are supposed to inherit from each other. If both are found dead at the same time, but it is unclear who passed away first, neither cousins can inherit from the other. This means that if Pedro had left money to Juan in his will, Juan wouldn't inherit anything from Pedro and vice versa. So, ayun, if ever na may iwang ari-arian si Pedro kay Juan at si Juan ay may maiiwang ari-arian kay Pedro, ay walang makukuha yung kani-kanilang pamilya kasi wala silang proof kung sino yung unang namatay. This rule helps prevent conflict when the timing of death is unclear and ensures that inheritance is handled fairly according to the law. So, ayun. Once na walang will at once na hindi alam kung sino yung unang namatay sa magkakapamilya, ay yung law natin ang susundin kung paano nga ba paghahati-hatiin yung natitirang ari-arian ng mga tao pumanaw na. So, that's all po for my report. Thank you po.